This defense is called the pack line. The pack line is a man-to-man defense, so it teaches good fundamentals, but it has many of the advantages of a zone by keeping players packed into the paint. So, the pack line refers to this imaginary line inside of the three-point. When you teach it to the athletes, you put tape on the floor to show them where the line is. After that, they have to imagine it every time they play. So as a man-to-man defense, as the opponent is bringing the ball up the floor, the person who is guarding them gets to be out on them. Whereas everyone else, if the other opponents are around the perimeter, each of our players is matched up at the closest point that is still inside the pack line. This is a pack line defense. The player on the ball gets to be outside the pack line. Everyone else is at the closest point to their player inside the pack line. This puts the other four players always in help. Now, when the ball is passed, then the player who was formerly on the ball needs to retreat to their spot on the pack line. And the player who is defending the person who just received the pass needs to close out to the ball. So we still end up with one player guarding and four players in the pack line. We always have help. Now there's two more concepts that go with this scheme. The first we call the flashlight, because if we imagine other lines that are out from the elbow to the corners, then when the ball is up here, the person defending them, their primary job is to speed them up, which is to say they get as close to them as possible without fouling them. If they can touch their sternum to the person they're defending without fouling, without leaning on the person, then do that to speed them up. Speeding them up refers to making them dribble faster than they normally would want to. Anytime the defender is inside the flashlight, they speed up the ball handler. When the pass is to someone outside of the flashlight, we'll remember that this person drops down to the pack line. This person closes out. But outside of the flashlight, the most important thing is that they use the position of their body and their arms to shade against the baseline. We never let them drive towards the baseline over here. Instead, we force them towards the middle. Anytime we're closing out to someone on the perimeter outside of the flashlight, we are taking away the direction that would take them to the baseline. So on the other side, if the pass comes to this person, this defender has to close out on this side and use the position of their body and their arms to force them middle. We do not give away this baseline. This becomes a little bit tricky when we dribble from inside the flashlight and they dribble here, because the defender is staying in front of their person, trying to speed them up until they cross this other imaginary line, and then they need to get to the other side and force middle. So the person that guards the primary ball handler should be a pretty talented defender, because they're going to have to be able to defend in two different modes. They defend by speeding them up, and then they switch into a new mode of defending by forcing the middle when they've crossed this imaginary line between the elbow. The reason that we do all of this forcing and all of this shading, forcing the middle, is because if this ball handler is very, very good and can actually get past the defender who is speeding them up, Well, there are 4 friends all waiting to collapse. We're not worried about this person getting beat off the dribble because they have 4 people ready to help. And even a really great defender, if they're forcing up on a decent ball handler, will sometimes get beat. So we're going to tell that person it's entirely okay for you to get beat. Just do not let the person dribble at the rhythm they want to. Likewise, these other defenders who close out on the edges, they may not be our best defenders, which is to say, it may be very hard for them to keep a player in front of them. By letting them shade to one side, we make their jobs much simpler. We also force the person back into the middle, where this defender probably has dropped to here, and they have 3 other friends all ready to collapse if they get beat to the middle. Now at the youth level, most of the time, the players who like to drive to the baseline here are right-handed, and the players that drive this way are left-handed. So, by forcing to the middle, we take away their strong hand. This right-handed dribbler cannot dribble to their right. They have to prove that they can go left, and even if they prove that they can go left, there's going to be a whole bunch of friends waiting to collapse on them. So, we make everyone's job simpler, we take away advantages for the offense, and we constantly force them back into the help defense that is present. So just quick summary here at the end. We have 1 person on the ball. If they're inside of the flashlight, they are speeding up. Everyone else is at the closest point that is still in the pack line. And this is a man-to-man defense. We didn't cover it, but if this person cuts through the paint, then their defender picks them up here, parallels them through the pack line, and then let's say this person came over here, then we would stop here at the pack line. But we still follow whoever we're defending because this is a man-to-man defense. But anybody who's not guarding the ball stays in the pack line.